In this video, we'll talk about some general types of fictional worlds as they exist in games. These ideas are based on the book Half Real by Jesper Juul. One type of fictional world is incoherent. This is when the game's fictional world contradicts itself, or when events cannot be explained as part of that fictional world. One great example of this is the game of chess. Generally speaking, chess represents a conflict between two societies at war. But it's not really possible to explain all of the movements of the pieces except by referring to the rules. We can also identify abstract fictional world types. So here, the game and or the elements don't represent anything else outside of themselves. So two great examples of that are the games of checkers and Tetris. Now, in both of these games, there are some conventions around the shape of the pieces and the shape of the board or the playing area, but they don't really stand in for something else. In iconic fictional world types, the individual parts may have symbolic meaning. So a good example of this is a deck of cards. Now we can look at the face cards in a deck and get some suggestion of a royal hierarchy, where we have a king, a queen, and a jack. Beyond those connections, the symbolic meaning in a deck of cards is fairly weak. We could also identify coherent world types, and here it's easy to imagine the world in pretty much any amount of detail that we'd like. A great example of that is the classic game Oregon Trail. So this was originally designed as an educational game, which means it includes lots of factual information. That helps to make the fictional world very complete. Last but not least, we have staged fictional world types. These are where abstract or slightly representational games exist inside of a more elaborate world. One example of this is the WarioWare series, where microgames are presented as challenges from characters in the context of a larger fictional world. So of course, these fictional world types are broad categories, and it's often possible to identify multiple world types or overlaps between world types within a specific game. The real takeaway is that it's the interaction of rules and the fictional world that work together to make a world type.